welcome to the Sewcial Hour Podcast. I'm your host, Audra.
And I'm your host, Bethany. And today we are taking listener questions. We put it out there that we were wanting to hear from our wonderful listeners. And by the way, we have listeners from around the world. Our podcast is heard in over 35 countries, which I think is a huge milestone. And I'm just so grateful for all of you and how the sewing community transcends worldwide. And that's just really cool. We're so happy you're here. By the way, we're 6 months into this journey together, Audra and I, and we just thought this would be a cool moment to maybe see how things are going, answer some of your questions, and, make sure that at the end of the day, this podcast is for you. We do this for you. We love doing it, but it is a give back to you all and our listeners. So today we're going to answer your questions. We got a very broad range of questions, and it's really fun. I always kind of think when I do these types of things that it's going to be different than it is, but it really gives us some insight into what you want us to talk more about and what you are looking to learn about. And we appreciate you taking the moment to just let us know.
We absolutely do, because we really feel this is our community. This is our home. And as we've talked many times before, we do this professionally, but we also do this personally because we're passionate about this space. These are where most of our best friends are. And this is really a chance for us to just keep that conversation going. And we want to make sure that you've got a reason to listen or watch us each week.
Do you want to kick off with our icebreaker like we always do? And we would love for our listeners to hop over to the Sewcial Sewist Facebook group and answer this question as well. We would love for you to. But our icebreaker question is, what other podcasts do you listen to?
I love listening to podcasts. Walter and I go on a walk every morning, and I'm listening to a podcast, whether I'm driving or walking with Walter. Mm-hmm. And funny enough, I really don't ever listen to sewing podcasts. I know that's kind of crazy. I think it's maybe because we live sewing most of our life. Yeah. When I'm walking, I'm usually listening to the Mel Robbins podcast is a favorite of mine. The Jen Gottlieb podcast is a favorite of mine. And of course, there are a couple Italian podcasts I listen to. So I listen to Stories in Slow Italian, and I listen to Coffee Break Italian quite a bit.
I love that your podcasts are for you to learn and get something from. Whereas mine are more of a way of disconnecting from reality. Truly. So please don't judge me on these. But I'm hoping I'm not alone. I listen to Crime Junkie like a lot. Okay.
I didn't even know this podcast existed.
Are you serious? It's one of the biggest true crime podcasts out there, and a lot of their podcast episodes are cold cases that they have dug up and trying to solve. They literally have a team, and then she's got other sub-series that she does. It's a whole thing. So I love true crime podcasts in general, but Crime Junkie is one of the ones that I listen to every week. And then there's one that I listen to every day through the week. They release a new episode every day. I want to preface this by saying it's not everyone's cup of tea, but I love it because it makes me laugh. And it's the Tony and Ryan podcast. They are based out of Australia, and they do swear. So they swear quite a bit. And they talk about the most ridiculous things, but it is funny. It makes me laugh. And I like to listen to them because they're short episodes, and I can listen to them in the morning, and it's usually from the day before for them because of the time difference. But it's a fun way while I'm getting my day started and I'm putting my makeup on to just make me laugh to start my day. They're really fun. Our You Love to See It segment of our podcast came from that. They inspired that. They do it as well. It's still just a nice way to always forces us to think of something positive that's going on because the negative can feel so loud. And so I just wanted to bring that into our podcast format, and I've really loved it. And we actually got some feedback about that from our listeners. So those are two that I listen to on a weekly basis, but there's so many others. And of course, a lot of audiobooks.
We're going to dive in to some of our questions that we got from all of our listeners, not all of our listeners, but the listeners who submitted. And we're going to
try to do as many as we can. We may not be able to get to all of these. So if you don't hear a question, I'm sorry, but we'll try to get to as many as we can.
Someone submitted a couple questions all along the same vein when it comes to quilting. I'm getting into quilting. What are your most used items and what do I need to reach for easily as I start my quilting journey? And also any good beginner instructors for quilting. I'll dive in right away. The first thing that popped to mind when I read this post was a great rotary cutter, number one. A great seam ripper, number 2, a great stiletto, number 3, 1/4-inch foot, number 4, and a great cutting mat, number 5. Those are my top 5.
Yeah. I would add some, because she was talking about like maybe setting up her space to be more suitable for quilting. So if there were some things that I've added to my space that have made that easier and more enjoyable for me personally, but they're not must-haves, that would be like having an extension table on my sewing machine. It comes in very handy. I talked about this in a previous episode where we took TV trays and turned them into little pressing stations that can fold up and down, and I have that sitting right next to me. It's actually sitting over here. I have a little wool mat on top of it and have my little craft iron, Aliso craft iron, because you're pressing a lot of seam. So as you go and you're sewing and piecing, to be able to just turn to the side and press and have that right there, you're not having to get up every 2 seconds. It makes it go a little faster. So that's one of those things. I think spray starch of some kind is a must for quilting, for those crispy seams and preventing stretching. If you're doing straight line quilting, you might want to use a walking foot as well if your machine doesn't have one built in. I mean, patience, and always get a little extra fabric than what the pattern calls for when you first get started, because you're probably going to miscut something. You're probably going to missew something. It's okay. Always get a little extra in case I need to pivot or fix something. And even still to this day, like I'll piece a whole quilt and I'll have it all up on my quilt wall and I'll sew the whole thing together, and I've looked at it 10,000 times, and then I get done and I do like a reveal video, and in my reveal video I'm like, well, that block was turned the wrong way and I didn't see it until it was already done, and it happens, and it's okay.
The other thing to remember, and really it's that patience factor, and it will quilt out. Yeah. And you know what? Even if you got something backwards, I think Adam talked about this in our episode 24, it will still keep you warm. It will still be a beautiful handmade piece. And if anyone notices, they're really not your friend anyway.
No, they're not. No, they're not.
If someone's sitting on my couch using a blanket and pointing out how my points don't line up, you are no longer sitting on my couch with a blanket, because you're not my friend.
You're out on the street.
You are voted off this island.
One of the things she asked was who to follow for beginner quilting teaching. I mean, there's so many people out there, and I think the key thing is to finding someone that teaches in a manner that resonates with you, because 3, 4, 5 people can teach the same quilt block and they'll get the same result. But if their teaching method doesn't speak to you, then you're not going to enjoy the process or learn and retain information. So you've got to find people that resonate with you. Okay. We did have Missy with the little green bean on. She was on episode 7, so I'd recommend going back and listening to her. She does have a membership. They do more than just quilting projects, but she does a lot of quilting projects, and she does some great tutorials. The other one is episode 10 with Misty Doan. She has obviously a ton of experience with quilting, being a part of Missouri Star. So definitely go check out her stuff. They do a lot of videos and tutorials. I mean, Audra and I, we do as much content as we can about quilting when we can. I do sew-alongs with Caterpillar with my job, and I have more coming up this fall that I'll be doing, and I really dive in deep and break it up into like live sew-along segments so that we work through the whole project together in small segments. So those are great for beginners. There's so many out there. I know this person that left these questions. She's actually coming to my sewing retreat in October, and I'm so excited to finally meet her in person. And it's funny, there was another 4th question she put in there, and it was like, are you sick of me yet? Because she just kept sending me questions, but I love that she is so eager to learn. And those are the people that I will never get sick of. Like, ask me all the questions. I'm here to support you. Like, that's our passion and why we do this podcast and why we put the content out there and why we work in this industry. So I think all of those are great questions. And I can't wait to sew with you and help you with your quilting journey in person at my retreat. We did get a lot of recommendations for people we should interview. And if you are listening and you didn't send us a recommendation of a guest you would like for us to interview, please send those our way. We won't say them here on the podcast because, again, we can invite people to be a guest on our podcast, but we can't make them. So we can just put the invitation out there, even though there's some that we would be like, you have to do this. Honestly, most people are very willing to do so, but sometimes it's just scheduling or timing or other things they have going on, and we get that. We do plan our podcast out further in advance. So if you have someone you'd like for us to interview, please let us know. But if we don't interview them soon, just know it's timing, or, we didn't hear back from them or whatever. But we will always make the ask because we love meeting new people too. So thank you for sharing those with us.
We've got a list of guests scheduled out. And so we're actually working quite a bit ahead when it comes to booking guests because we want to be aware of their schedules as well as working it in to ours. So they will absolutely be on our radar screen. We got a question about how to start putting yourself and your work out there and building a social media platform. This is a really great question. And we talked about some of this in actually, I think it was episode 9, which was the comparison trap. And what we had talked about was don't ever compare your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20. So when you're looking at setting up a YouTube channel, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, whatever you're setting up, don't let what you're seeing other people put out there hinder you from just diving in and posting your work and loving your work and sharing your work with the world. Because we all want to see it. And I think sometimes we get a little hung up in going, oh my gosh, but look at what they did. And it's like, but that's okay. They're on their chapter 13. You're on chapter 1. So just dive in the pool. Don't be scared. What I would say for sure is if you're just getting started, even if you're not sure if you're going to use the platform or not, I would definitely lock in your username. So there are a couple platforms out there like Blue Sky and Threads and Substack that I'm not active on yet, but I still have my So Dreamy locked down so that when I do want to engage them, if I do, I have control of the username that I want. So as you're getting everything set up, just kind of look at what your messaging is going to be, what your brand voice is going to be, what your goals are. Are you sharing your work because you just want to share your work? Are you sharing your work because you want to work with brands? Are you sharing your work because you want to build your own business and bring in revenue? Ultimately, what is your big goal? But while you're figuring out the big goal, get all those domains and usernames and everything locked in. So you've got it ready to go when you know how you want to go forward.
I couldn't agree more. And I've even gone as far, we have this wonderful resource now called ChatGPT. Like if you're like, oh, I'm not sure what to name my brand. I think I want to name this, but I don't know if someone else already has that. Like it's hard to Google and find and search on the internet because, there's so many different platforms. But if you ChatGPT that, they'll find it. Okay. So that's a good way to double check it. That way you don't end up branding and investing in a brand and then later on find out that someone else has already claimed that and is, got rights to it for whatever reason, or then you can't get the website or the email. Believe it or not, I have a Gmail account and it's not craftwithbethany@gmail. I had to change it because Craft with Bethany was taken. Now it wasn't taken on anything else but Gmail. And I'm like, what? So I had to do something a little different. Now I have a website and I do my email through that and it's different and it's fine. But I had checked everything. So I'm just letting you know, just like Audra said, set it all up. Even if you're not ready to move forward with it, don't wait. If you want a really humbling moment, you can scroll back to the beginning of my YouTube and see those first few videos. I'm not ashamed. I leave them there for a reason because it's sometimes I need that reminder of seeing how far I've come. It was me with a tripod and an iPhone, an old iPhone, no microphone, no lights, no nothing, no real editing software. And I was just recording and posting because I just knew I had to start to learn. And I've learned along the way. And I think this is probably a topic we could probably do a whole episode on of social best practices and social media best practices and tips for planning, marketing, and social content and all of that.
We are still perfecting and figuring out.
Right. I think there's always something new, right? There's always new ways of doing things and making it more easy and efficient. But like getting started, I think we could talk about the basics. And then like what we use now, what I use for Caterpillar, like I do all their social content planning. There's a lot that can go into it. It just depends on how much you want to scale it. But at the end of the day, it should be fun. And just make sure that you take time for yourself and take breaks. It's okay to take breaks from socials. We had another question. What is your favorite season or holiday to sew for? And this actually, I feel like kind of leads into our next episode, which is all about holiday sewing and honoring your limits. So we'll be talking about this more next week. But I would say I like seasonal sewing. I love fall. I'm not a huge Halloween person. I love fall. I sew a lot for Christmas, but it's not usually Christmas themed. It's like gifts for people, like my immediate family. I made my nephew a quilt last year, and I usually make my mom something. I made my mom and my sister-in-law both matching shirts with like the embroidery on the split hem of the side shirt, with the little bows. So I made those for us last year. Like I make ornaments for my sewing club friends. So I tend to make for others during the holiday season. So I tend to make more than I usually do. So it gets me excited to sew and do something different than my usual. But I don't sew holiday specific stuff very often, unless it's for work.
I really don't sew a lot. I'm sitting here as you're talking, I'm kind of doing this mental library of sewing. And I just don't do a lot of holiday sewing. And again, like you, the holiday sewing that I have has been probably done for work. I do have teaser. Okay. Teaser. I do actually have something I'm going to be doing for Halloween because I got something in the mail and I'm like, oh my God, you could easily make this and it'd be so cute. So I'm going to do a little thing of like retail versus handmade. That will be Halloween-ish themed. But yeah, I don't have a favorite holiday per se because I just am sewing all the time.
The person who submitted this question is my friend Jennifer. We do the sewing club together. And I asked her what she was working on this weekend. And she's making this cute little girly ghost quilt this weekend. And I'm like, well, now I want to make a cute little girly ghost quilt. So a lot of times my inspiration just comes from my friends or you all that I follow. And then if I have time to squeeze it in and I have the materials on the hand when the inspiration and the opportunity strikes, then I'll jump in. But like I'm doing 2 Christmas seasonal sew-alongs for Caterpillar this fall. And so that's going to really check the box for me for Christmas stuff. And I'm probably not going to make any other Christmas projects.
I think some of my like not doing holiday stuff is then I need to store it and bring it out for the holidays, whether it's a bag or a quilt or a throw pillow or whatever. And I feel like I'm just going to end up forgetting I have it. And then the holiday is going to pass. And then I'm going to be so mad that I didn't bring out this handmade thing that I made for the holiday. I do have a patriotic table runner that I usually put out on our table, usually like from Memorial Day till 4th of July, because it'll span the whole run.
I'll even extend it to Labor Day. Like we just a whole summer.
But yeah, and I don't do a ton of holiday sewing like you. It's more gifting than necessarily home deck. But I do, like I said, I've got a fun home deck thing coming up.
I did make a quilt that was, it was a vintage witchy pumpkin panel. And like you could add to it, but I just made the panel and I quilted it and it's a wall hanging and it goes up. But it's because it was a quick project I could do on a Saturday at Sewing Club. I did the whole thing from start to finish. So if it's a quick seasonal thing, but if it's like a full-on Christmas quilt with all these different blocks and stuff, I'm like.
Actually, now that you say that, I stand corrected. My favorite thing I put up. Is also for Halloween. So maybe I'm going to say Halloween because I'm realizing all my favorite things I've done for Halloween or I'm interested to do are for Halloween. I have my Halloween bike, which if you go on my Instagram, I put it up every year. But it is this bike wall hanging. It's like 48 inches by 30 inches. So it's sizable. And there was this really cool bike applique pattern. I'm trying to remember who it was from. And I'm like, I want to do a Halloween bike. So the bike is all Halloween. So like the basket is like overflowing with like potions and spiders and stuff. and the background is all black and white, and there's like some Harry Potter in there. The backing, though, is my favorite. The backing is a bunch of zombie pinup girls. So it's all these pinup girls that are, they're like green, and there's like, anyway, yeah, I'll put it up. Just note, I'll put it in the Sewcial Sewist when it goes up for Halloween. It'll probably be around this episode, actually, so I'll put it up.
Yeah. I think the bigger question is, when do you start decorating for the holidays? That is a controversial thing. And for me, like, we're going through false fall weather right now here in Tennessee. It makes me want to decorate this weekend because we're going into Labor Day weekend, and I feel like the beginning of September, I'm like, I want to go ahead and get it out. And so I probably will this weekend, to be honest. Maybe not all of it, but like most of it. Because I don't have a ton of fall and Halloween. Like, I don't do scary stuff. But I do the cutesy stuff. But I need to pull that out. But Christmas, November 1st. I decorate for Christmas.
I'm a little bit off than you. I will have Halloween decorations up probably end of September is what I'm going to do. And then when Halloween rolls around, all the Halloween stuff kind of transitions into fall. Yeah. Until Thanksgiving. And then Thanksgiving weekend is like, we're off to the races for all things holiday.
Do you get a real tree?
It depends. Well, we do Christmas, so we have a Christmas tree. Okay. And also some of our decoration kind of depends on when Hanukkah falls. Okay. So like a couple years ago, Hanukkah fell on like Thanksgiving weekend. So I think I actually decorated for Christmas early. Yeah. Because it fell on Thanksgiving weekend. Yeah. But then that means if we do the real tree's got to live a long time. So last year we actually invested in a fake tree, which we haven't in a while, but because I think we had an extended holiday situation. I think we were traveling or something. I can't do real trees in my house. I'm allergic to every type of tree that's outside. I've been tested, and it was awful, and it was horrific. And it's why I'm an indoor cat, as I say. So, but I have like 7 fake trees. And I don't have a big house. I have a bunch of fake trees. So we put them up, and they take time, and we floof them and do all of that. And yeah, so that's how I'm able to because I put up so much. It's the only holiday I really decorate for. So since I put up so much, I want to enjoy it a long time. But then Christmas is over, and I'm usually taking it down sometime between like the day after Christmas and New Year's Eve. Like, it is all gone before New Year's Day, because New Year's Day to me is like a fresh start. It's phases for me. So New Year's Day, the tree will come down, but then we get into like winter decor. So then I might have like snow trees and like whites and silvers. We're still in like winter until I start to decorate for Valentine's Day, because I've got like a cute Valentine's Day table runner situation.
My January is, I want my house to feel as empty and clean and spacious, and because there's so much Christmas. There's so much Christmas. Anyways, we digress.
All right, we got to get moving here.
We could talk about that for a whole episode.
We could. Next one, I'm totally going to you, because this is something that before we get into this question, I bought this thing. It is still in the bubble wrap from the box. When did I buy this? It was when I was there. It was April. Guys, I bought this item in April. It is still in the bubble wrap from the shipment box in my closet. I have not yet given it a go. So Bethany, go.
Well, the question is, projector sewing. How does it work? Where to get started, and why I would want to get a projector? Is it worth it? I mean, this is a loaded question that could be a whole episode. Okay.
We have this coming up in an episode. We have this slated.
We do. And we're going to dive in deep, but let me preface this by saying I too was like Audra. I got the projector. I let it sit there for probably a year before I finally hit my breaking point.
Oh, so I still have like 6 months.
You're good. You're fine. But we're not going to let you do what I did, okay? And a lot of people do this. My friend Diana did the same thing. Hers sat there for like a year or more. Like, it gets the best because it feels hard. But I'm telling you right now, it's not any harder than learning a new sewing technique you've never done before, right? So like the first time you sat down to make a bag, right? Like that felt hard because it's all new. That's all it is. So if you really break it down, it's not so bad. The challenge is there's a lot of information out there, but is it specific to your projector, or which projector should you get? But let's take a step back. We're not going to dive into like what you should get. We're going to dive into why you might want a projector real briefly. My breaking point was when I had a PDF pattern that was 80 something pages. And it's because it was a big pattern for pajamas, but there was 5 different types of pajamas and it was all one big pattern. You kind of had to piece the whole thing together. And all I wanted was a tank top and shorts. It took me 3 hours to piece this and cut these pieces out. And I got to the point after 3 hours, I didn't even want to make them anymore. I could have just gone and bought for, new pajamas.
Yeah.
And it just was really frustrating. And so I was like, this is ridiculous. And the next day I got my projector that I had purchased and started diving in. Now, the thing about projectors is there's about 3 different types of projectors that are most common, and you have to figure out which type is right for your space, and that is based on your space and what you're doing. So I have an ultra short throw. No, I have a short throw projector. A short throw projector is kind of between a regular projector that you would get to play movies on your wall, and the ultra short throw is like the Epsons that sit on the table or sit right next to you, and that's what you have. I couldn't really use either of those because of my space. So I went with just a regular short throw, which are harder to find, but like eBay's your friend here with those, because Epsons and the ultra short throws, but the short throws especially because they're not as common, can be very expensive. And so eBay's your friend. But once you figure out what you need, and how you figure that out is called your throw ratio from like ceiling to tabletop, right? But if that's not going to work, you get a tabletop one or all these other options. At the end of the day, the purpose of these is to project your pattern down so that you can just put your fabric on your cutting table. Your pattern is projected onto your material and you cut it out. There's no PDF printing. There's no paper needed, no ink, expensive ink for your printer. You can just kind of get rid of that printer. You don't need it now, right? Like it just makes it so much easier. And it's not just for garments. You can do it for bags. You can do it for craft patterns. We're going to be talking about stuffies here in a minute. Like all of those types of patterns can be used with a projector. I've seen people use it for applique, for projecting their designs down to doing like big applique. I have a friend who used a projector to project a design on her daughter's jeans.
Oh, cool.
Because it's her senior year, and it's really cool right now to like hand paint a pair of jeans for senior year. So she projected it down onto the jeans and then traced the design so it fit perfectly on the pant leg. And then she went through and painted it. And so it made it get it perfect without like, any mistakes. Because once you start painting, you can't undo it. So there's so many different ways. I've seen people use it and put paper down, and their kids or grandkids come and can color, and they're projecting designs down onto it. There's so many ways that you can use a projector, but it is so cost effective, time saving for someone like myself who sews a lot and is trying to just squeeze in a quick pajama project before I go to bed because I didn't do laundry and I need some pajamas. Like I don't have time to print and tape and cut out 80 pages for a shirt and tank top and pair of shorts. So I just thought like this is just going to make me be able to sew more faster. And it really has. And everyone that I've talked to that has finally gone down the path of projectors wishes they'd done it sooner, myself included.
That's going to be in like,
and everybody feels that way.
I'm going to hold myself accountable.
Yeah.
By October 15th, I'm at least going to turn it on.
Yeah. Well, and yours is really easy to set up because it's just sitting on the table. There's nothing to mount on a ceiling. I think that was kind of the hardest part for me. There are some tools, and we'll share this in an upcoming episode, but there are some tools to help you get started. There's a Facebook group. That Facebook group is massive, and there's a lot of information. But there is a website called projectorsewing.com, and she walks you through figuring out which is the right projector for you. She has tools to help you calibrate your projector so it's in the right dimensions, so when you project your pattern, it's not too big or too small. So she has all of those tools, and she has ways of like help for mounting and figuring out what's right for you. And we're going to dive into all of that. I know that was a big answer and very not a lot of information that you really need, but it is worth it. I had to print one the other day because a PDF pattern, because the company I was making this dress for didn't have a projector file. And it reminded me why I love my projector so much. So if you've been on the fence, this is your sign to get one, and we'll do a whole episode on this because I could spend a lot of time talking about it. And we're going to get Audra's up and running.
The next question is a one-word answer from both of us.
Okay.
And then we're going to move to the next one.
Okay.
Do we sew over our lunch breaks? Or no, actually, it's not a one-word answer. It's a four-word answer from both of us.
Ready? 1, 2, 3. What are lunch breaks?
What's a lunch break?
What's a lunch break?
And I think it's not that we can't take a lunch break. Yeah. It's just sometimes when you work from home, the lines between like office time and break time get really blurred. We're going to keep that answer real short. Yes, I have sewn over my lunch break, but recently I don't actually know what that is. So
I don't really take a lunch break. And I work with a company that's in a different time zone. So that also makes it challenging too. I'm usually taking meetings during lunch hour. So stuffy sewing, memory bearers, craft sewing. We need to hear more about this. You recently made a stuffy, and I know you brought it for show and tell. So if you're watching our YouTube video version of our episode, you can go see it. Maybe she'll post a picture in our Social Sewist Facebook group.
This is Penny.
Yeah, tell us about your stuffy. Adorable.
So this is Penny. She is the Swanky Swine pattern from Rustic Horseshoe.
She's a little piggy.
She's Penny the preppy pig because she's got her pink and white striped ears and her striped wings and her striped tushy and her striped feet. So it's Penny the preppy pig.
That's 3 times fast.
This question came in, and I think it's really great because it was talking about how there's so many other kinds of sewing in the world, and I think stuffy sewing, craft sewing, those other types of sewing aren't talked about as much just because it's not as prevalent in the conversation. That being said, I can attest to it. It's really fun.
They are fun.
They're so fun. And I just started sewing stuffies. I started my sewing retreat in June with my mom. I sewed a little teddy bear, and I was like, oh, well, this is really fun. And then you get to squeeze it and cuddle it when you're done.
Yep.
So I think we should talk about this maybe in an upcoming episode of just kind of the different types of sewing outside of kind of the big 3, quilting, bags, and garments. And I think that'd be a whole fun topic. But yes, we will tee it off with Penny the preppy pig says, make some stuffies.
Show her curly tail.
Oh, she's got a curly tail.
She even have a curly tail. She got a tag.
Yeah. Oh, it says love.
Legit.
I put it in upside down. It's fine. It happens. But yeah, and it's all pipe cleaners, and the wings bend and stuff too, which is all pipe cleaners, and the ears are all pipe cleaners.
Now, who's this pattern by?
Rustic Horseshoe.
Rustic Horseshoe. And they have other patterns, other
so many. They've got a dragon, Bethany.
Ooh.
So that'll be the next stuffy I make. I'm going to do a dragon, I think. We should. I'm thinking in fourth wing style. I'll do like a tarn and an darna.
I have fourth wing tags I need to use. Oh.
Okay, I'll show you the pattern because I think we should do it.
We should do it together.
You should do one and I'll do the other.
Okay.
You
just is your pig just going to be in our video the rest of the time? Because she should be. I want something to snuggle.
So no, I'm gonna hang out with Penny. By the way, if you're watching, you can see. Look at her little eyelashes.
Early girl. Did you put falsies on?
I did. They're actually like I went to Walgreens, and in the pattern it says like you pick out eyelashes like the ones you wear, and I was like, oh, all right. So I went to Walgreens. Did she have eyelashes?
Her eyelashes look better than mine.
No joke, right? I was like, maybe I should start wearing fake eyelashes.
I love it. All right. I'm interested in drafting a pattern block for myself, maybe for a top or bodice. How easy would this be to do for an intermediate to beginner? I will say that as someone who has done pattern drafting, I went to school for fashion design. I've taken pattern drafting courses. It's not too hard to create your own personal block, but there are kind of like rules to it. And then like, I think once you have your block, it's about how to manipulate it to create different styles. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to recommend you to Trisha. With her Instagram is creative.costume.academy, but she is all about making it accessible for you to draft your own patterns, create your own pattern blocks, whether it's for your bodice, for bottoms, whatever. And she does it like, it's not digitally done. She does it by paper and teaches you how to do that so you can make your own and then use that to help you create your own clothing, but also you can use that to help alter patterns to better suit yourself. So you can take patterns that already exist and use that block to help it, get that custom fit that we are always striving for when garment sewing. I love Trisha. She's very smart and she's a great resource and she does a lot of education. So definitely check out creative.costume.academy. I know it says costume. She does all sorts of stuff, but she really heavily focuses on personal garment and pattern drafting. So check her out.
Perfect. The question was, do I need a serger for sewing clothes?
Yeah, and it was actually part of the question from before as well.
My answer is no, but it's also a no but. Like, no, you don't, but no, but you'll have a cleaner finished inside garment if you do.
My answer is a yes, because I think it makes sewing garments more enjoyable and I think it makes them last longer and it gives you that professional look that you would want to have. So like if you're serious about getting into garment sewing, I would say you can start before you get a serger, but I think you'll realize quickly especially if you even want to entertain sewing knits, that you'll want one. And that's usually the journey that people go down. I don't think you need one to get started with sewing garments, but you'll realize that it will be something that you'll go, oh, I really do want to keep sewing garments, or I really want to get into sewing knits. Yeah, that serger would be very helpful. So it's up to you.
I just don't want people to see it as a barrier to entry.
It is not.
It's not a barrier to entry, but your product will be better. Your durability will be better. Don't let it hinder you, but I think you want to explore the investment.
Yeah, I can honestly speak from experience that I've never enjoyed sewing knits on my sewing machine.
No.
Absolutely. So if you want to start sewing knits and you don't have a serger yet and you start doing it on your sewing machine, because you can, if you're like, this isn't fun, don't write off knits. It just might mean that you need to take a serger for a test drive to really enjoy sewing knits, because it does make a big difference.
Yeah.
This person also asked tips or tricks for beginners to get into garment sewing and where to start. And part of her question that I didn't put on here was like, she finds reading the patterns really hard. And this is where I feel like indie pattern companies really shine. A lot of them do, because they're very beginner friendly. They cater to beginners. They aren't like the big four that assume people have a garment sewing knowledge right out the gate. And so one of the pattern companies that I always kind of recommend to people to get started if it's their very first time sewing garments, and this pattern company does a lot of knits, by the way, is Ellie and Mac Patterns, because their patterns are very detailed. They include colored photos of the steps of someone actually sewing it up, not just a digital drawing that can be confusing. So you can see the garment being created. And then they all have video tutorials as well, all of them. And they're wonderful. And so, and there's so much information in their tutorials about picking the right fabrics and how to find the stretch and how to get your right measurements. Like, they really are set up to support beginners so that you can grow and learn. And that's just one example. I could name a dozen more indie pattern companies just like theirs, but I always kind of refer people to theirs because they have some very simple patterns to get started with.
Well, and in episode 6, we referred to some of our favorite summer wardrobe patterns, but a lot of those were pattern designers that we really like that are beginner friendly as well. So go listen or watch episode 6, and even if it's not an applicable pattern for the time of year, just take a look at those pattern design companies.
Someone else asked what it was like working in the sewing and quilting industry. And we did a whole episode of how we got here, our jobs in this industry, and what our experience has been like. And that was episode 2. So if you haven't had a chance to go back and start from the beginning, if you found us later on in our journey of this podcast, I encourage you to maybe go back and listen to that one, because we get asked that a lot. And I'm happy to revisit this again in the future, this topic, but We do kind of touch on this a little bit with a lot of our guests too, of like their experience working in the industry too. So if you want to hear about mine and Audra's story, go back and listen to episode 2.
That was more than 2 questions. But
I know, but I was able to sneak it in really fast. Okay.
All right. To wrap this up, it's a love to see it. But I think we should mention that someone said they just sent in a thank you and said, love the You Love to See It segment, which we appreciate. So that is a perfect segue for You Love to See It.
Yes. I know. She's really sweet. She said, not a question. I just love you both. And that's really, we got a lot of those, by the way. So we really appreciate the positive feedback. My You Love to See It is that Houston Quilt Market is coming up very soon in just a couple of weeks. This is a big event. I'm going to market. I'm not staying for festival, which is after market. So market is the B2B, the business to business side of the event. And it's for a few days. And then there's a couple days in between where things are kind of reset. And then it's the Houston Quilt Festival. And that's B2C, business to consumer, where it's open to the public to come. And so I usually just go to the market side because I work in the industry and I'm networking and running around, but I get to see all the cool stuff and all the new products and see all my friends in the industry. And I absolutely love it. It's a lot of work. Traveling is exhausting. These long days, standing on my feet, walking the show floors every day, but it fills my cup so much. I freaking love it. And I cannot wait. This is where you and I met last year, and you're not going to be there this year. And I'm
not going to be there this year. I love this show. I love just shows in general. And you're tired, your feet hurt, but like you come home with just such a high. My love to see it is we are fully back in all things theater season in this house on all fronts. Charlie is a couple weeks away from her first show of this new season, and then she rolls into another show right after that. I am doing props for the high school play this fall, and so we are fully in the throes of
I was about to ask high school play if you were volunteering for more shows this year.
Yeah, so the high school play this year is called The Stage Door, and it's set in the 1930s in kind of like a lived-in apartment. So it's going to be props is going to be a lot of very period timely things. Like I'm excited. I'm going to be trying to make some cool looking old magazines because these girls are kind of sitting around reading magazines. I think I'm going to be like tea dyeing some paper and creating some old magazines. I think it's going to be a really fun show. Charlie has her theater stuff on stage. I have my theater stuff backstage. And so we are fully in theater season here in this household, and it is always a good time.
I love it. Well, coming up next week, we, as I mentioned before, are going to be talking all about holiday sewing and how to balance holiday sewing with all the holiday activities and just really honoring your limits, not overcommitting to things. Even if you're not committing to things to other people, I do it to myself, right? Oh, I want to do this, I want to do that. And then I have the sense of guilt that I didn't get to do any of it, but it was all internally. So like, it's all about balance and still being able to enjoy the season. And we're going to talk about that. I think we could all use that reminder, myself included. We'll be back next week for another one. This has been fun. We're 6 months in. We're still going strong. Again, if you have anything that you would love for us to talk about, guests for us to interview, like the Sewcial Sewist is the place to let us know that, or you can send us a DM on Instagram to either myself, Audra, or to the podcast Instagram. We appreciate all of our listeners. Like I said, we have listeners from all around the world in 35 different countries, over 1,500 major cities around the world. And we are so grateful for all of you. This has really taken off and had a big moment this year. And beginning of January, we didn't know, this wasn't even on our radar. And so for this to come about and happen so organically, and if you haven't listened to how we got here, you really should go back and listen to that. But it's been such a fun ride. I wouldn't want to do it with anyone else. So thank you, Audra, for hanging in there and jumping into the podcast pool with me, because it's so fun. And I am so grateful for your partnership in this.
Yeah, it's been an absolute blast. The only thing that could make it better is if we were closer and can do it in person, but I think we make it work.
We do. We do.
Make it work.
We do.
Thank you so much for joining us. Make sure to stay in contact with us, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Happy sewing.
Bye.